You are listening to the Practicing the Art of Small Business podcast with Shannyn Merlo and Julie Parker. Enjoy this conversation about business, leadership, and the self-awareness journey to great success.
Welcome, Julie, and welcome, listeners, to Practicing the Art of Small Business. It's been a little while since we last spoke. Julie, how are you?
I'm really fantastic. Thanks so much for asking, Shannyn.
It's been my pleasure to ask you. When I say it's been a while since we've spoken, it's not since we've spoken, it's just since we've recorded us speaking.
Correct. And how have you been? Have you had a good day today, Shannyn?
I've had a great day today. Been running around like a blue fly, but generally pretty good. And the weather in Melbourne is sensational, so you cannot be upset. We are on episode number 54 today, Julie. However, listeners, I don't know what we're covering off because we were brainstorming and I was stuck trying to make a decision. So I've outsourced that to the wonderful Julie. So she's going to tell us what we're covering today, and I'm here for the ride.
That's it. You're just going to have to be happy with what I've settled on, which is...
Oh, okay.
Which is...
Drum roll.
Is the reason your business isn't growing because you cannot take swift action.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because you can't make a decision on what to talk about.
I know. That's exactly why you chose this one, didn't you? You're like, Shannyn can't make a decision. We're going with the, what is this costing you?
Well, this topic has come from a video I was watching this morning, and it really did resonate. I'm thinking, I reckon that might be pretty true. And he was talking about the fact that when he's a business consultant and when he goes into businesses and also dental practices, but he does all sorts of businesses, he goes in there and they're all, we need more success, things are a stalemate, we've paused, we need more momentum going on, we need action to be taken to help us increase revenue and become more successful. And then he speaks with them about the various different ideas that they've had to do that work themselves. And they often come up with a whole bunch of ideas. But it all stops short at the owner who does not take swift action. And usually the owner's not taking swift action on these things because they can see the potential for this particular idea not to work. And so what he says he does when he goes into a business, he finds out all of these ideas and he starts to train the owner that regardless of the fact, some of these ideas may not indeed work. When you say no to those ones, you actually say no to all of them and you're not getting any progress happening whatsoever. And so he goes through this process of training the owner in just saying, that's a great idea, do it. That's a great idea, do it. That's a great idea, do it. And it just starts this wonderful process of action and results and momentum and progress.
I
loved it.
A little bit. There's less to unpack than one of the other suggestions you made.
Why I chose to avoid that one. Like, wow, that could get into a 2-hour session.
It's a really great topic. I'm going to be, because we love the yin and yang, or I do anyway, I'm going to be pessimistic, Shannyn.
Pessimistic Polly?
Actually, I'm pessimistic Polly. And I'm going to say back to you what I reckon almost every client of mine, whether it's because I've attracted them or not, would say to me, which is, I'm too busy already. And we're a podcast, which is, I'm too busy to listen to this podcast. So I'm too busy to take all this action. That's one of the biggest issues that I've seen, where there's all these things that we could be doing, but we get into overwhelm and we don't end up finishing anything because we sort of start everything. So what do I do now that I've already got too many things to do? And some of the not taking action is because there's all these other things that I already need to do, and adding another thing onto the list just doesn't seem like the right thing right now. Talk to me about that. What do I do, Julie?
I would say congratulations, pessimistic Polly, on identifying the exact story you tell yourself that stops you from taking action. That's what we need to get to the bottom of. We've got to the bottom of it, so let's start taking action on some good ideas. Because I agree with you. I think a lot of people are busy with the day-to-day operation stuff And so that's where they cast their vision down to how do I manage today, this week, this month, rather than coming from that more higher vision space of that allows you to prioritize more effectively. Something that's just coming to my head right now that may help. When we are in the day-to-day operations, we are looking at the activity we are currently taking every single day and thinking, well, that can't stop. That's operations. That can't stop. I have to keep doing that stuff, so therefore I don't have any time. Tim Ferriss had a conversation on his podcast that I listened, one of his episodes from years ago. So we're stuck in my head that you are the owner of the business. If you were given only 1 hour every week to fulfill your role as the owner of the business, now what would you be doing? Because usually they're like, well, 70 hours a week, I'm doing the operational stuff. What if you were only given 1 hour a week? And all of a sudden you'd be doing far more high level stuff, visionary stuff. And so it's about looking at the way you've structured your team at the moment and where you can get other people to do your operational daily things, or where you can continue doing those things, but you can start to delegate the actions that's required to put that next good idea into action. Another thing that's kind of coming into my head, I'm kind of taking over a little bit, is that just like the owner is thinking, I don't have any time because I do my day-to-day management things, and that takes me 70 hours a week. And now I'm in the routine of coming and working 70 hours a week, doing these things, can't see anything outside of that. But your team members will be exactly the same. If we start thinking to ourselves, well, what if we had these other activities that we also need to do? How can we bring better efficiency, better productivity into our world so we can actually start activating these ideas, having a higher turnover, building our team out more so everything's being looked after in a far more managed way and in a far more productive way, and the business is progressing far more swiftly.
Really cool points that you've made there. I do love that whole you've only got an hour a week. What are you actually going to spend your time on? Because that's a really great way to prioritize. You're not going to get stuck in the weeds of whatever the weeds are you? You are going to take the highest leverage action from there. And I do love the what action is going to get you closer to your vision. And I'm trying to, my little brain, she's working really hard, ticking away. I gave you an analogy in that we weren't recording about a conversation I had with someone about taking action based on their only a 12-month vision. But I have a better one and I can't find it in my darn brain. And so there's no point in me talking about the example that I have in my brain that I can't share because it's in my darn brain. But I think it is one of those ideas of getting clear on what is the direction. What in 5 years' time will this problem be a contributing factor to what we see the business to be in 5 years' time? No. So let's move on. Or not making this decision, will that affect the direction that we're heading in to get to in 5 years' time or 3 years' time or 1 year's time or 6 months' time? And so that can certainly help get out of that day-to-day weeds and kind of look up and go, oh, yeah. It's kind of like maybe an analogy instead of an example is I know that I want to go north of the river. Never happens. I'm a Baysidean. And if anyone knows Melbourne, knows anyone who lives in the Bayside, we do not cross rivers. It's a known thing. Anyway, but I need to go north of the river. Got my lunch packed, got my water, got my provisions. It's kind of like knowing that I've decided I'm just going to head north. I'm going to take all the roads, Punt Road up. But if I actually just looked at the map and went, well, I could turn right onto High Street, then left onto Chapel Street and right onto... Now, all of this is only going to be relevant to Melbourne people, but you could always look at a map of Melbourne and you can see what I mean. There's a big road that heads north. So when you're in the midst of it and you're looking at the detail of it, you can easily lose track of heading north. Is this a good analogy, Julie? Your
It's a good
face is not
analogy
telling me.
because what happens when you're heading down Punt Road and
Mm-hmm.
you know where you want to be, but unless it's actually within your sat nav thing, you then get distracted. Oh, because now there's schools out over there and we're slowing down to 40 Ks. I'm going to take this side street and try to maneuver away and get another way towards north. And then, oh, there's roadworks. And so now I'm going to be diverted again. So you're diverted by the minutiae of the journey. And next thing you know, you are far away from the north side of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, how the hell did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
My aim was still in my head. I still wanted to get there. But now look at me. I'm further away than I was before.
Mm. And that's the whole idea of the vision as well, isn't it? Because if you do, okay, I want to go north of the river, but actually I've gone left because of roadworks. And roadworks can be, I lost a key person in the business. Roadworks can be a legal case that's impacting us, a trademark issue. Roadworks can be market downturns. Roadworks can be loss of a major client. Roadworks can be all of these things that will push us off that journey that we're heading on, that north of the river journey that we're heading on. But if we actually go, no, we need to head north, we've got a destination that we're trying to get to, we can turn left, sure, but we still need to turn right to start going straight again, or north again. We're going to have to have a PDF attachment with a picture of heading north to left, a handout. So I think kind of gone a little bit off track in terms of going back to the point of this episode, which is making decisions. But I think this is the idea, is that when we know we want to go north of the river, whenever there are roadworks, all analogies, we can make quicker decisions because we know if we lose a key person of dependency in the business, we've got to plug that gap really quickly because we're not going to get north of the river. If we lose the major client, we've got to fill that gap. We've got to hustle our sales because we're not going to get north of the river. So all of these things help us to make faster action because we have to. Sometimes when the universe, whatever the universe is for you, I'm putting that in talking marks, throws you a curveball, that is the best time to make fast decisions because it enables or it enacts the need to make fast decisions.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's all about, this is the original route, but roadworks has happened. We've lost a key person and we're rerouting back. We're going to go this way, but we've still got that as the goal. Because otherwise, if we are acting just to the day-to-day little challenges, we're rerouting. Oh, and now we're rerouting, and now we're kind of heading off. And so we have to always maintain that vision. And I think it's a very worthwhile area to take the conversation because, as you said, that's going to be the main objection that most people have when you say just take action on everything. Like, oh my God, like it's also, don't you realize how busy it already is? And I think we have to really assess and decide upon what our expectation is when we do start taking swift action, because success can't look like all these great ideas work or all these great ideas are implemented properly, or I have to make sure that that we hire more people to be able to get to share that workload, that new workload out. What success looks like is progress. And progress is apparent when you take action on a great idea and it doesn't roll out the way you had hoped, in that it results in increased turnover, for example. That's okay. We've still got progress because we know that we don't want to have that idea anymore. So now we're going to focus on this other idea. And just because of the fact that we are now, as a business owner and subsequently a whole team, now we're getting into our identity. We are action takers. We have great ideas. We roll them out. Some of them don't work. Some of them work great. And this becomes part of the culture of this team. And I think that is an extraordinary amount of success that any team can achieve as well. As an expectation, to have that as an expectation is wonderful.
I love that. Success is progress. So if you are not progressing, you can't enact a constant improvement narrative, which is something that we're both passionate about in our businesses and providing to our clients. So I love that idea that success is progress. Simply by making progress and taking action means that you can evoke that constant improvement. Didn't work, great. What did we learn? What mistakes did we make? How do we build this into our constant improvement mindset in the business? So I actually really love that reframe of taking action gives us the opportunity to constantly improve, because we wouldn't have seen the mistakes unless we tried it in the first place. So it really overlays that constant improvement framework that you use. With constant improvement happens with making mistakes and repetition, and there's two more. Feedback.
And the willingness to go through incompetency feelings before you get to competency.
I love being incompetent.
Love it. And what's the alternative, Shannyn? What's the to remain in that mindset of too busy to take action, too busy to see a great idea and move forward with it? What's the alternative?
So anyone who's in Melbourne and went through coaching school have heard this ad nauseum. It's green and growing or ripe and rotting. And so whenever you are green and new things, so if you imagine green, new activity, growth, then you are growing. You're growing as a person, you're growing as an entity. Or if you stagnate, and when I say stagnate, you start going across, this is the time to watch YouTube, us on the tubes, so that you can see my hand go across like a shark.
Good description.
When you're doing that, inevitably there starts to be a decline. Because if you keep doing the same thing without actually looking to make any changes or make any alternatives in the business, it will decline. That's part of the business cycle, is when it does get slow or stabilizes, if nothing else impacts it, it'll start to decline. You'll have competitors steal your market share.
That's true. And I'm thinking to myself, is it like us putting the business in the comfort zone? Because that's where we reside when we are not growing. We are residing in the comfort zone. And we know as individuals that's not where growth is. And so for our business, it's the same, isn't it? And so in order to step outside the comfort zone into the growth zone, it means there is going to be discomfort for us as individuals. And so therefore it will mean there's discomfort for the business, the team members, the owner, when you go into the growth zone. So stop expecting it to feel better.
Gosh, I love that. We could do a whole episode of Is Your Business in the Comfort Zone?
Yeah. Maybe it's a better title for it. I think it's a good title for it.
It's a good title. It's interesting because it really, as you talk about that, it resonated for me around the culture of the business that we want to foster and the kind of people that we want to attract into the business. So if your business is an established business and it is a culture of stability, certainty, comfort, and you want to change that, it can be really difficult because you will have attracted people who are attracted to a more stable, comfortable business, and they will resist change. They will resist taking action because they were attracted to the business that they kind of knew what they were getting. What will happen if you make a determination that we're going to be a green and growing company? It is fast decision making. It is taking action. You're going to get quite a lot of pushback because people are in their comfort zone. And what will inevitably happen is that you will lose people if you make a determination and stick to it. But this really then goes again to the alignment of what is your vision? Is your vision to head north of the river? In order to do that, we've got to be a green and growing company. And we are now going to start attracting people through the way that we do business, which is fast decision making, constant improvement, constant action taking, not without due process, obviously, But then you'll start to attract people who are really keen on more variety, more stimulation, change, and that level of business.
Gosh, and I've got another great analogy because
This whole episode's been analogies.
So if you are to really drive that point home, I'm picturing a person that's in the comfort zone. They love a good feed. They love a few glasses of wine of an evening. Calls back to my conversation with you earlier before we started recording. They're not a huge fan of exercising strenuously every day. They love sitting in front of the telly of an evening and watching a good 2, 3, 4 hours of comedy and lighthearted stuff just to break away from the intensity of the day. Now this person's on the dating scene, and so they're going to more than likely attract a long-term partner who enjoys the same comfort zone. They might attract for one date somebody that is really active and super fit and healthy, really watches what they eat. They're a non-drinker, for example. They're into all the superfoods and whole foods and thinking positively and couldn't bear sitting down of an evening and wasting hours watching television. That person will come into their world possibly, but they're not going to hang around for a long-term relationship because they've got different visions. They live in a different way. And so really recognize if your business has become in that comfort zone, that just getting by on a small profit margin every year, that's all okay. That we are all in this grind of doing the same thing every day without really aspiring to reach that vision. If we talk about the vision, we have the vision, but we're not taking the action around it. And so in essence, we are just in that comfort zone. And so when new team members come on board, you may attract the great new team member, but when they realise, they sit around every evening and watch telly, it's really not for me. And to be able to really get those superstars that are like, yeah, I love taking action. I love that constant and never-ending improvement journey. I love that feeling of progress. You want to be able to make sure that you create that beautiful vision in your business first. So when they come along, they recognise it and go, this is the place for me.
It's much more, taking action is the doing thing, but really this is about determining as part of your business objectives, are you heading in a direction? Like, are you stuck in the comfort zone? Because you can take all the action that you like, but if you're in the comfort zone, you're going to be taking the same action.
Yeah.
It's like, it's going to be circular action, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's like saying, I know it's not a matter of you not being busy. I know you're working hard. It's the stuff that you're doing that needs to change.
So going back to your dating analogy, it's like saying, I like to hike on the weekend, but then what happens is you spend the weekend in your pajamas. And I don't know I would have no experience of this at all, obviously. But it's kind of like, it's like saying, yeah, we're going to go hiking on the weekend. Yeah, the business is going to head in this direction. But then the action that we take is that we're hanging out in our pajamas. Let's not hang out in our pajamas at work, but it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you go in as a consultant, you go into a business and you say, what's your vision for the company? And they say, we want to have this amount of turnover. This is what the team's going to look like. This is the kind of growth we're going to sustain. To then say, and what's the evidence on the ground right now that you're striving towards that goal? Because is it a goal? Is it a vision? Or is it just an idea, a nice thought? Because going for the hike, that's a nice thought. I can imagine myself enjoying that. That'd be a nice life. But the evidence on the ground is that's just an idea. That's just a nice thought. It's not actually a firm goal.
Where's the line, Julie, between ambition and happiness?
Oh,
Hear me out.
oh, I have an answer for this. I think this is the answer to this.
Okay.
On the entrepreneurial journey that we are both on, and many people out there are on, you keep having this idea of what success looks like. And when you're not achieving it, it's frustrating because you keep putting action in place and doing things differently to achieve the different result. And then that doesn't work and that doesn't work. And you're like, bloody hell, it's filled with frustration.
Mm.
And then beautiful Tony Robbins, listening to one of his wonderful videos, and he said, if you have got the goal to be successful, I urge you to change your goal, because success changes. If it's a financial amount of money, that's going to change. When you achieve that, all of a sudden you're going to put another financial goal in. If it's the size of your company, that's going to change. If it's your work-life balance, that's going to change with life. And then you'll be frustrated eternally because you're never actually reaching the goal. So instead, don't strive for success. Strive for fulfillment. And the minute you said that, I'm like, oh, bloody hell. Like, that's just brilliant. And I absolutely feel completely fulfilled with my work. And it has removed the veil of frustration away from me. Now I feel like I am far more, I've already achieved what I call success, which is fulfillment. Now I get to enjoy it and see what directions I want to take it in.
While taking action.
While taking action, and not frustrated action. Not that kind of action like, we'll see if this bloody works. Let's see how this can fail as well. The entrepreneurial mind. It's so delightful.
fun. So fun. I do, just from a productivity perspective, and I don't know if this is going to relate, but I talked to Julie about this before we started. I think that if you're saying the business or this person in the business, I'm going to get to take action on this in the future, I would love a reframe of, if I've got to do it in the future, I've got to do it now. If it's going to happen one way or the other, it needs to happen now.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Julie? Because often that's what stops us. It's like, I need to do, unless it's a project and it's very like, and the project, let's use a nice easy one. Unless you're building a house, right? You can't start to get the cushions on before you've laid the foundation. You absolutely can't. So there's definitely that, but there's this action that can be taken, knowing, oh, I'll put that off until this happens and that happens and that happens and that happens. But it's like, no. There's already a pathway. I don't need to know something before I can take action on that thing. I'm just choosing not to because I'm putting all these barriers up.
Yeah, and I think this is part of our identity directing our behaviour, because you're either the type that just gets stuff done, or you're the type that puts it off to more ideal circumstances. And it takes telling yourself, even though you're not going to believe it at the start, say, when you find yourself saying, I should get that done, but I possibly should be better off delaying it to another day, to say, no, that's a different person. I'm the kind of person who just takes action now. All I need to do right now is take the next helpful step towards that action. And this is another wonderful way of getting that covered, as well as taking action on good ideas. So Jerry Seinfeld has said in the past, when you've got a lot of stuff going on in your day, don't take things off your to-do list. Just spend less time doing all of them. And that is rolling around in my head a lot too, ever since I heard that a number of months ago now. And I love that, because I go exercise every day. I don't have time every day to go for an exercise. And ideally I'm out there going for my walk, jog, for 30 minutes. But sometimes I go for 15 because I don't have time. But me not having time doesn't mean I don't do it. Me not having time is that I'm reallocating the amount of time I spend on doing the thing. And so when you think to yourself, all I need to do is take some kind of helpful action towards that strategy, towards getting that action completed, then you've got that sense of progress, which is inspiring to you and motivating to you, which allows you to get more done the following day and the following day. Because what we've got to try to get rid of is the mind chatter that takes up a lot of time and energy of saying, I'm so busy, I haven't got time. I'm so busy, I haven't got time.
Before we start to do the wrap up, because we wanted to kind of keep this shorter and sharper, what about, and again, I have no experience of this, Julie, whatsoever. I don't know where this would come from at all, certainly not personal experience. But what happens if you get 70%, 80% done, And then you get distracted by a shiny object and you start taking action on something else. And so that thing stops. You stop taking action on that thing because you're taking action on another thing. And then you end up with, I don't know, a bunch of things that are at 70% that really, they don't have a bow on them. And they sit on your list going, I really do need to take action on that, but I took action on that instead. What about that? What if, just in case anyone might do that?
Well, my management of that kind of situation is that, you're working steadily on a project, you're getting 70% of the way done, you're about there, and then something happens as you say, oh, that's an interesting comment on Facebook. Let me participate in that little commentary there. So you've been distracted away from it. Your pattern of work has been interrupted by the thing. So interrupt that new pattern back to the thing. And the way I do that is I stand up and I clap as loud as I can. Back to work. And I clap so loud it rings in my ears. And then I get straight back to it again. And I can always jump back into the original task again. Interrupt the unhelpful pattern. Jump back into your pattern. Do a pattern interrupt. And it could be a handstand. It could be a quick walk around the house or the office. It could be a loud clap. It could be yelling out, stop it, and just getting back in. But do some physical action that is dramatic to shift, to break that other path, and then choose to go back to your original again. It's always worked for me.
What about if it's a bigger thing, like a project? Like, so let's say maybe it was a marketing project that is 70% executed. I'm just trying to think of, so I'll use an example of mine. I had a program that I was rolling out and I probably got 85, 90% of it done, but it was the last 10% that I sort of paused on. So what if it's a really big project and there's a distraction and it's a bigger distraction? So it's not something that you can pattern interrupt with a clap because it's a big activity. So let's just say I'm just trying to think of a good example. That's a real example. In the business, we've decided to systematize the business, maybe. So in the business, we've decided to systematize the business and we are 70% documented it down, but we've actually taken on a new marketing program and it's all hands on desks, all hands on desks. That's a new one. It works now, doesn't it? All hands on desks. You heard it here first, kids. All hands on desks to get that done because there's photography that needs to be done. We're doing a bottom of the funnel and top of the funnel. We're doing the whole thing. But it means our systematization, the work that we've been putting into systematizing the business, has had to pause. What are your thoughts? Is it going back to taking any action, as you said before?
If it's a matter of a large project, what can happen sometimes is that you're doing the project for such a long time and you're spending so much effort on it that it becomes in itself that little bit of a Groundhog Day and you become a little bit less inspired because you're still working on it. You haven't quite achieved the goal yet. And if it's a number of people that are involved in it, I would suggest it's a great time to have a stand-up huddle and remind ourselves, what's the goal? What was the regional vision behind this? What's the big why we're doing this again? Let's all remind ourselves of that. And now let's have a look, be inspired by it. The amount of progress we've already got to date. Look, you've done this and I've done that and look how much stuff we've got done. So we're in this. This is so great. We've only got this much left to push through to the very end. And so everyone, what is the next thing you're going to be doing, you're going to be working on today or tomorrow or this week? What's that one project? And we're going to make sure it is done by the time we get to our next huddle. Let's go forward and do it. Let's go. And I think it's a matter of just recognizing, it's a bit of a time for re-inspiration, re-motivating of the team members.
Yeah, that's really great. It really is a case of making sure you've got clear milestones that are clear deliverables. That's, I think, often what happens is when that last 70% is really unclear of what success is. What is the final step? So often in projects, I get really clear on what's the end point. How will we know it's done? To the point of, like, there will be a spreadsheet that will be saved, and it will be it's not completed, but there will be a process of how we complete the spreadsheet, and it will be that is done. That is the project finished, done, finalized, closed off, because then implementing the project is another piece of work. So if we can set milestones up with that level of clarity, then it can actually help bolster enthusiasm, because we get it done and we get it ticked off and we finished it, and I don't know if you've experienced that, but
it certainly comes back to what Tony Robbins says about progress. Progress equals happiness. We feel happy as human beings when we're progressing. And so don't be so in the middle of a big project where you feel like you're not achieving anything because you're still in the middle of the project. Keep reminding ourselves all along the way, we've achieved this much, and really build in that sense of progress into your follow-up meetings around, or your progress meetings.
And a final one before we do the wrap. One thing, if you're a business leader and you're getting pushback on your team, we're too busy to take this action. We're too busy to take this action. I will often say, could you find 15 minutes in the week to take action? We could all allocate 15 minutes in a week just to start chipping away. Could we do that? In 40 hours, do we know how to multiply 15 by 40? Oh, hang on, no, 4 by 40. Well, that shouldn't be too hard. It's 160, isn't it? Yeah. Good mathsing. Go brain. So there's 160 units in the week, in a 40-hour week, and we can't find one unit that we can dedicate to chipping away at this thing. Is that what you're telling me? Just one unit of our 160 units, we can't find time. Is that, you're actually telling me that? Because if that's what you're telling me, we have a much bigger resourcing problem in this business.
And I think too, it is getting the team involved in the solution as well, because otherwise it's just more work on my desk. Why would I do that? And so having them part of the solution is really helping them to understand what the vision is and what life's going to be like, what their experience at work is going to be like once this new thing is activated. And, sometimes that new thing does mean that we are going to increase in turnover, which means we can expand our team, which means that the stuff that you find Groundhoggy Day in your own current roles, we can evolve our roles a little bit and have them be a bit more enjoyable. And when you do get people, because this is the thing, if you give somebody 38 hours to do something, they'll take 38 hours to do it. It's for all of us. But if you give us 10 hours, we'll get it done in 10 hours. So yeah. I agree with you that there's always room for movement to be more productive in the moments by doing things differently. And it is about becoming creative about, well, how can we be more efficient with what we're currently doing? How can we be more productive? Imagine if we were a business that was already achieving this workload, what would that look like? And this is where you can start to really tap into the brilliance of the people actually on the ground doing it, or on the desk, hands on desks, doing it. And really starting to share some creative ideas, but definitely look outside of your business walls. Ask consultants, ask other business owners what they do, because we can only activate the ideas that we come up with. That's not all the ideas in the world. A lot of other businesses have already implemented systems. They've come up with great systems to become more efficient with their use of time. And so look outside and start to implement different ways of doing things.
Julie, do you think that we have covered off enough today?
I think we've taken action swiftly. I think we've achieved a goal.
I think that's great. So let me run a wrap. We're calling this, have we changed the name as we've gone on this little journey of Is Your Business in the Comfort Zone?
Yes.
So in this episode number 54, which we're now calling Is Your Business in the Comfort Zone, this is about making sure that you're taking action, all the action, because through action you get progress. when you say no to one thing, you're saying no to a whole bunch of things. So otherwise, if you say yes to one thing, there's lots of opportunity that comes through that. If you're saying you're too busy, I love that Julie reminds us that that's just the story that we're telling ourselves about all the things that's holding us back. We want to stay focused on our vision because that helps us take action today. That's going to help us get there. Remember, we're heading north of the river. We're taking Punt Road. We're not getting off the road no matter how much roadworks there are, or if there are roadworks, we will find a way back. Remember that. Remember also that the success is progress, and with a progress mindset, we're overlaying that constant never-ending improvement, which is a really energizing way to say, let's make mistakes, let's stuff it up, let's get it wrong, because we're going to improve when we do that. Remember that you're either green and growing or ripe and rotting, and if you're a shark, you're stagnating and you're going to decline. It's going to work if you're watching it on YouTube. Strive for fulfillment instead of success. You can be watching too much TV, drinking too much wine, eating too much carbs, but if you exercise, then that makes up for all of it. And that has something to do with me more than anything else. Think about your identity and what's the next helpful step that's going to help you get to your identity, and hands on desks.
I love that. Hands on desks.
Hands on desks. We need all hands on desks.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Shannyn. It's been delightful to record an episode after such a period of time, I have to say. We remembered how to do it, which is good.
We did remember how to do it. And I remember how much I love doing it with you in particular. So thanks for letting me do it with you.
Consider it done.
And thanks, listeners, for staying on the journey with us. I know we're slightly inconsistent, but we've been taking action somewhere else.
Well, I'll see you next time, Shannyn.
See you, Julie. See you, listeners.